Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And this week I'm going to be talking about the guilt felt when suffering from mental health issues, how to deal with this, and how to cope with hurting loved ones or feeling like you're hurting them. I know a lot of the time when we're dealing with mental health issues and eating disorders, we feel so responsible for the pain that our friends and family are feeling in regards to us, and it's very hard to internalize this blame that we feel. We can sometimes feel very much ashamed of the struggles that we are feeling, and I think it can be a lot to cope with in addition to all of the things we naturally have to cope with in regards to our eating disorders. I think there's a stigma around people with eating disorders and that they are selfish. That maybe they don't think of anyone but themselves and they are only focused on weight and body and self-centered things. But really, a lot of people with eating disorders are very caring and very much so preoccupied with what other people think and feel. And it can be a lot because we all love our friends and family, especially friends and family who have supported us or who are very close to us. And no one wants to hurt people they love. That's just not so. But we can't help hurting the people we love sometimes just by living our everyday life and dealing with the things we deal with and talking about the things that are important to us and hurt us. So the number one thing that I want to start with is we have to remember that because we are hurting, we're automatically going to be hurting some people that we love. And that doesn't mean that we're doing anything wrong. It just means that just like when they're hurting, we're hurting. When we're hurting, they're hurting. And it's because they care about us that that they're in pain when we're in pain. And that has to be okay in some respect. It has to be accepted is what I mean. That's just a natural human emotion and it can be dealt with as such. Along those lines, we have to remember also that we are all human, and I say this a lot. Just because we are daughters or sisters or wives or friends or nieces or mothers or brothers or fathers or sons, we have to remember that we're human, and while we care about other people, we have to care about ourselves first. And sometimes caring about ourselves can be a full-time job. It can be a lot of work, and it can really be a battle. And having that battle be witnessed by others can take a toll on them. And it's not always a pleasant experience, and it's not always easy to know that other people around us are hurting, but it may be part of the process. As far as blame, I don't think that placing blame on ourselves or on other people is going to help anything. Just as we can't blame anyone for our eating disorder, we can't blame ourselves for all of the pain that our loved ones might be feeling. Obviously, our eating disorder can be the cause of pain. It can be the cause of pain for us, and it can be the cause of pain for the people around us. But we are not the source of that pain and displeasure. And it's really important to make sure we direct our anger at the right thing, which would be our eating disorder and not ourselves, and that we let people around us know that we're working on it, that we are attempting recovery, or we're still strong in recovery, or we're trying recovery, or we're doing the best we can. However you want to word it, let them know that you're trying. You don't want to die. You don't want to live a life of an eating disorder. You don't want to continue along the path of being unhealthy or disordered or self-harming. You want to be better than you are, and you want to get better, and you appreciate their support, but you're a work in progress, so it will take some time, and every day is not going to be easy. And in fact, some days are going to be really, really difficult. And I think just being honest with the people that are in our lives is a really huge step in the right direction, letting them know that we recognize that what we're going through might be hurting them, and letting them know that we're sorry about that, but that we have to focus on ourselves and we have to focus on our recovery and getting better, that's what's important to us. And because they are important to us and their support is vital, we want them to know that we're pushing forward, we're not backtracking, and that if we do have a slip up or a setback, we hope that they will be there to support us, because this is a really trying time. Honesty always seems to be the best route. It may involve a lot of bravery on your part, but I think more so than that, it just involves good communication. Whether you're going to send someone a lengthy email or write them a letter that you hand to them or send in the mail, or if you sit them down and say, I just want to talk to you tonight. Can we sit here? I think it's important. And the conversation may last 2 minutes or it may last 2 hours. But I think as long as you say your piece and you are upfront and forthright, that everything will be moving along beneficially instead of staying stagnant, and instead of having you feel like you have no control over the way your loved ones are feeling. So as far as that's concerned, I think checking in with our friends and family members is a good idea. And by that I mean, maybe you sat your mom down or your sister down or your best friend down and you talk to that person and you let them know that you're really sorry that they're so concerned and upset for you, or that you're giving them a hard time sometimes because you're struggling. But now some time has passed, maybe a month, maybe 2 months have passed, and you just want to sit down again and say, look, I'm still working on this. I really care about you. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad you're here for me. I just want to let you know that, again, I'm sorry that you're hurting. I'm hurting too, and I hope that things will get better. I think checking in is great, and I also think that talking about that hope and portraying that hope is the most important piece after honesty. Letting the people around you that may be hurting also know that there is hope for things to get better. Just stating it as a fact, like I did at the end of that when I said, and I hope that things will get better. You don't have to say that things will be better in 2 months, I promise. You don't have to say that, I'll be at this weight in a year, or next year at this time we'll be on vacation together and I'll be able to eat whatever I want. Or you don't have to set little deadlines. You don't have to tell them that you're working towards a particular goal. They're not your counselor and they shouldn't be, but as long as you can say, and I hope that things will be better soon, you're letting them know that you also hope that things will be better soon, because in their head that's what they're saying each and every day, probably multiple times a day. And stating that hope is just as important as having it. Feeling responsible for your friends and family is a really tough job, and it's not easy to erase that feeling of responsibility when it comes to people that we so deeply care about. So I can't tell you, don't feel bad that your mom is hurting over your eating disorder, or don't feel bad that your best friend is crying to you every other day because she's so worried about you and your eating disorder. I can't tell you not to feel that, because your feelings are real and they're valid, and you have every right to feel them. And the people around you have every right to feel the way that they're feeling too. In the info box, I'm going to post a link to a fairly recent blog post that I did, and it basically talks about people having every right to feel the way that they feel. And by people, I mean you have every right to feel the way that you feel, and your friends and your family members have every right to feel the way that they feel. I called the post Friendship, Eating Disorders, and Everyone's Right to Lead a Life. And I go in depth in my response to a question from someone. The question was, my best friend of 15 years, after ignoring me for a few months, decided to call me up last week and basically list out everything I've done wrong in the relationship over the past 15 years, and how I've pretty much been a terrible friend this whole time. Furthermore, she seems to be putting some kind of condition on our friendship in terms of my eating disorder. She claims that I fail to take personal responsibility for it, and that she can't handle all of the back and forth, meaning relapses. That she doesn't like to see or hear from me when I'm not doing well, and that we basically can't be friends unless I can guarantee that I'll never be symptomatic or sick again. To an extent, I can kind of see where she is coming from, because I'm sure it's not easy to watch a friend self-destruct, especially when it seems like they are doing it on purpose. I tried to explain it to her, but she didn't want to hear it. She's had enough. I also tried to explain that I'm doing fairly well at the moment, and the kind of progress I've made over the past few months when she was ignoring my calls, to which she responded, "Yeah, well, I don't know how long that's going to last." It seems like no matter what I do, I can't win. Perhaps I'm too close to the situation and I'm not seeing it clearly, which is why I'm interested to know what you think. But to me, this seems like an awfully conditional type of friendship, not to mention an impossible, unrealistic promise for me to make. She sent me this holier-than-thou sounding email about how she took personal responsibility for her life and how I never take any personal responsibility for mine. She and I were like peanut butter and jelly growing up, and it would be devastating for this friendship to end, but I almost don't want to be friends with her anymore. I feel like friends are supposed to accept the good and the bad parts of each other, not just the parts they like. As you know, eating disorders are complex, especially if you've been dealing with one since childhood like I have. It takes a lot of work to fully recover. It takes a lot of work to fully conquer an eating disorder, and even to find a knowledgeable therapist who is a good fit. I realize that when I engage in unhealthy behaviors, I am making a choice to do so, but it's not as though I am also not attempting to do other things to try and help myself. She basically says, "But what I'm asking you is, do you agree with me when I say I think she's being unfair and unreasonable, or is there something I'm missing?" All of her emails, because she doesn't want to see or talk to me, have this condescending edge to them that makes me feel like crap. I'd hate to let this friendship go, but at the same time, hearing from her just makes me feel bad about myself, and I don't think I should have to explain my eating disorder to her or submit to this condition she is putting on the relationship. It's not like I anticipate or look forward to a relapse or anything, but I'm doubly stressed out now because I feel like I can't ever mess up again, or else I'll ruin the relationship. I feel like friendship is supposed to make you feel good, not afraid of the other person's judgment. What are your thoughts? Should I go with my gut and just let go of this friendship? I thought this was an excellent question. I answered it back in April, and I want to refer you to my answer because I don't want to read it all here. It's very lengthy, but I do go into a lot of depth about what I feel is healthy for both individuals, and I ask some questions of the reader. And I do have a lot of thoughts on this, and they are complex, and they do depend on the two individuals, and basically, both parties have a right to feel the way that they feel. And I do hope that you'll read the blog post that I refer you to if you have a similar situation, or if you are also interested in knowing why both parties have a right to feel the way that they feel. So I will leave you with that, and I hope you're all doing wonderfully well. See you next time.